Welcome to Ben Nevares podcast with your host, Ben Nevares.
Yeah, and kind of one of the things I was talking to the other guy with UFC Fit is like if they take that and you mold it into yourself, it's way easier for you to bring in like products that probably have better margins and are better for you. So whether it's, don't kill me on this one, but if it's like Neutralite products to Amway products to First Form, is like now you can actually do a couple other things where you can have athletes in there that don't really have that and they could build their own brand, and you're not relegated to the inventory that's on hand. You can order it and it can deliver right to your home. And so you have some really good MLMs that you can leverage with your gym that profits the gym. And if you build that, that could be another revenue arm that most don't do, because now it's on subscription base for those athletes or for those people through instead of through the gym.
So me, the athlete, can purchase, like, let's say I want to start purchasing First Form stuff through the gym or on my own?
Yeah, you could. First Form doesn't care. Like, they don't, like, buy the product. It's good product. Buy it. So if you're 1099ing through the gym or through yourself and it's all through the gym and you get people on subscription models, so the revenue they're going to get from that or the overrides you're going to get from that can go right to the gym or right over to you. It's an MLM person's dream. Imagine just like Amway products, and you have a gym, you have a high traffic gym, and you get everybody on that. Like the money that you'll make off of that is six figures in pure profit just off of that, not even including anybody else that does it elsewhere. Like they get their own licenses.
And then I can go to other gyms and start promoting
you could, yeah.
to them.
Yeah. So a lot of those companies, like they're structured where it's a profit share model, and it's designed for that. Their apparatus, their back end, their whole infrastructure is designed for people to get licensed, to talk about the product, to share the product, get people enrolled in the product, love the product, versus maybe like a GNC type where you just go in, you buy what you need and you leave. And then you come back a week, 2, 3, 4 weeks later, do the same thing over and over again. Versus some maybe incentivizing that person, giving them 10% off by just being on subscription. So now every single month you get your vitamins, you get your whey protein, you get your recovery, you get your all that. So it's like that's one thing I would push for with people, and even subtract some gym dues of like, hey, I'll give you 10% off here. I'll shave this off on a monthly basis if you're on subscription. As long as you're active here, this is active here. It's like, sweet, I'm winning all the way around, but you're actually winning all the way around because now they're committed to the gym. It's easier for them and they're already getting a product and it's on subscription model.
Could I even say, like, if you start purchasing the recovery portion of our stuff, so like I have a sauna and a cold plunge, and it comes with 10% off of a subscription for glutamine. Mm-hmm. And then now, well, yeah, I want glutamine. I want to recover. This person's already volunteering to say, I value recovery. And so it's an upsell, but at a discount.
Yeah.
But it's another revenue.
Yeah. That's the beauty about gyms and just anything medical. So anything in the fitness industry is that we have so many things that are happening in our world that's causing inflammation, that's causing stress, that's causing anxiety, that people are sitting down more, they're sleeping less. So the list goes on the things that end up kind of attacking our bodies that are making us unwell. So when you stack on the other side of that, a bunch of like cold plunges and heat or sauna or massages or acupuncture, personal training, nutrition, a dietitian, so on and so forth, is that with any top performer, you need a team. And so when someone walks into your gym, it's like, all right, well, we are that one-stop shop for that team. We have the equipment that you can step into and use. We have the personal trainers that are going to guide you to maximize the equipment. Then we have everybody else there to help you with your recovery, help you with your sleep, help you with everything. And what this does is it gives you the edge over your competition when you're out there in the market crushing, whether you're a realtor or a doctor or a influencer, a performer, a entrepreneur, whatever it is that if you can go in there and you are sharper than your competitor, if you're more rested than your competitor, if you are less groggy and more energetic than your competitor, ultimately over time, who do you think is going to win? If let's just say hypothetically, both of you guys are the same. Well, probably the person that actually invested into themselves. So yeah, man, like it's the consequences of not doing that can compound itself pretty significantly over time.
How have you managed to stay healthy?
I feel like that's probably one of my worst ones, dude. Yeah, I feel like that's probably the thing I struggle with the most on a couple fronts. Like, so, and it's not like it's an excuse or anything like that, but I have 3 kids. I got twin boys. I have a little girl. She's 3.5. And my sons are barely kissing 10 months. So, it's one of those things like I have to kind of practice what I preach because I tend to neglect. I tend to just not take care of myself, not recover. I don't always sleep very well. I'm waking up a number of times every night because one of my sons is crying that wakes up the other one, and then he's hungry, and the other one's hungry, and then it's like before you know it, it's at like it's your 4 o'clock in the morning, and then you have an alarm that goes off in a few hours, and you're just groggy. And the way that you fight through that is by caffeinating yourself, and then that just kind of activates a whole waterfall of other bullshit. That so if anything, like it's something that I'm still fine tuning in this stage in parenthood, but before, no, it was actually pretty easy. So if someone's just running a business and that's it, I really envy them. And because I don't get help. I've retired my wife she's over 3 years, almost 4 years now. And it's when everything is on you, you just have to kind of persevere and push. So no, I feel like that's probably one of my Achilles heels is that for sure.
So you know the things.
I know the things.
It's implementing those things. But you like, I think as a parent, especially with kiddos at 10 months, I mean, you're gonna have to wake up at certain times. Like, it's inevitable. So
it's not perfect.
It's not. It can't be.
It's not perfect. And I think the saving grace and all that is to make sure that you have like a positive mental attitude. The best thing to do when you're like, look, it could be something in the military, or if you're going through a project or a Spartan race or whatever, where you know things are going to suck and you know it's going to happen for a while. The best thing you can do is just be grateful, be happy, be appreciative, and just have a good attitude about it. At the very least, there's going to be some days where I have like 3 hours of sleep, and that's it. And I really believe that if you just have a great attitude, your body adjusts. There's this wonderful book by Dr. Joe Dispenza called "You Are the Placebo." And the placebo effect is real. So if you do tell yourself like, I'm 10 feet tall, I'm bulletproof, I'm King Kong, I'm filled with energy, I'm abundant, I'm about to crush this thing, I feel great, I feel amazing, I feel fantastic, nothing steps in my way, I'm an obstacle crusher. You go through that at a high level. I don't care if you're on 3 hours of sleep, you're going to fight through that. You're going to be good. And I've done that a handful of times. It's not, it doesn't feel great, but it's kind of what we say in Alaska, like you just do what you got to do, and it is what it is. So I at least have a positive mental attitude. That's what I'd say.
So be positive, and then understand that it's a season.
It's a season,
and it's not going to be perfect.
It's not going to be perfect. Okay. Yeah, and just do your best. I mean, just because that's going on isn't like an excuse to eat like dog shit. To that's
McDonald's every night.
yeah, have McDonald's every night. Like, I just know. But no, because that stuff actually just makes it worse. So when you are like locking in on your diet, just make sure like I would suggest talking to a personal trainer, talking to a dietitian, and they're used to that. If someone just goes to you and they're like, hey man, this is kind of what I'm running into. What do you recommend? He's like, cool. Magnesium at night, at least take a hot shower, at least do this when you wake up in the morning. Don't jump right into caffeine, maybe have electrolytes first. And then, so like there's ways around it. But it's not going to be perfect, and that's okay. Give yourself some grace, but like definitely talk to a personal trainer, talk to someone that's really good at that, and they'll guide you to mitigate the impact.
internally handling the fear of, man, like I'm going to ask somebody for help, I would imagine is a hump to get over at some point. And how does somebody get over that? I know that's kind of a wild question. It kind of depends on the person, but if I have an internal block of, man, I really like, I can recognize I'm struggling with this. And then somebody hears like, man, you got to go hire a personal trainer, go hire a dietitian or a massage therapist once a week, go get yourself a team and invest in yourself. And then there's like this, I don't like, why?
I think a lot of it's a self-image thing. A lot of it is a self-image where, some people, they just there's some categories in this on like why they don't do it. And a lot of it can really circle around money. Is like, I have to invest in myself, but if I don't think I'm worthy, or I don't want to spend that money on myself, like I think it really kind of boils down to a self-image thing where I'm not worthy enough to invest my resources into me, as weird as that sounds. So you're kind of having to overcome that like, no, you are worth it. And how you kind of frame that from entrepreneur to entrepreneur, most of the time, like I'm just working with entrepreneurs, and that's like a big thing for them is like, they are so stuck in this mind frame of I have to help my employees, I have to help my kids, I have to help other people. And they kind of forget themselves in the process. And a lot of the hard work that they're doing, like the 60, 70, 80 hours a week that they're just pushing, they're running and gunning. And it's like, hey, take some of that money, invest in yourself. And they're like, no. Like they know they need it, but they don't feel worthy to have it or worthy to do it. And that's its own obstacle. That's its own thing. We're like, I don't feel good enough to even be worthy of that. Another part of that is like, you have a lot of entrepreneurs that are just numb. When someone so I look at businesses as like 5 phases of business. So you're in a startup phase, perseverance, you're in viability, you're in scaling, and then ultimately you're in succession. Perseverance is like you're in the suck for the most part. You're just trying to get things going. Sometimes, some months you have money, other times you don't. You're not really running on an operating system, so on and so forth. Those phases is like being in a toxic relationship almost. Where, have you ever been in a relationship where it's like, it's harder than what it needs to be, and it almost becomes your normal, and you
100%.
you become numb to the toxicity, numb to the chaos.
It's the worst thing in the world. It's so depleting, but like I guess I'm just like, this is just my normal. I guess this is just how the relationship will exist.
And that's what entrepreneurs think, is like, oh, this is business. This is what I have to do. This is my normal. So if that's your normal, then it's hard to kind of justify something that you think is going to fix that, where it's like, it doesn't, that's just how it is. So like, I don't see that will help. So it's part on the personal trainer or like a business coach to be like, no, this is actually what the top people do, and what you're doing is not normal. So I think it's that.
Show them that? And like here are my kids. Like, actually, if we just did this, and this, it would change this, and this for you. Like if I'm thinking about it from a personal trainer's perspective, then it's having like little goals. It's like, I just need you to show up on time. Like, you're showing up 20 minutes late to a session. I just need you to show up on time, just once a week, twice a week for me, and see what that does for the rest of your life. And then start showing up and like, okay, this is kind of cool. And well, now we're going to squat a little bit lower this time. Okay. I feel it more on my glutes. You know, it's like a slow like progression into, but like, that's a lot of time. Is that what, sorry, I didn't really end off with the question. So
no, it's all good.
Is that the kind of like, how do you present that progression out of stage 1, 2, and then getting out of this is just how it is?
Yeah. So if I kind of hear what you're saying, like, so when you have like a personal training client, like what you're describing, like they're already in it. And now you are conditioning them, or you're framing them that like, if you're going to be here at the very least these 2 times a week that we're seeing each other, this is where you show up on time. Everything else, if you want to be late, whatever. Here, on the dot. And here, I rule all. So if I see that there's opportunity for you to get just 1 inch lower on your squat, let's go ahead and do that. Anywhere else in your life, you call the shots. This is my world here. I get that when someone makes the commitment to work with you, to like, all right, let's give this a fair shake. the step before that, which is, I would say, probably the harder one, which is like, why should I invest into you, or why should I invest into myself? And so that whole process with an entrepreneur, it's like now they're in the fight with you, like now they're actually training with you. But beforehand is like, what kind of pitch or what needs to be said in order for them to be like, okay, here's my money. Let's go ahead and run together and actually do this. This side looks really, really different for everybody. And this is basic fundamentals in human nature. Do they want more recognition? Do they want to get out of pain? It's like, I know I'm numb to this. This is my normal, but I'm in pain. Just like that toxic relationship. It's like, this is normal. I don't know how to get out of it. I just know I don't really like it. And so every single thing that someone's giving you, you want to showcase one, that are there other people that are doing the exact same thing without this experience? Are there people that are maybe having in the same business as you that are doubling in sales, but a quarter of the time, that are not dealing with this? Do you think that exists? And it's like, we can show them that it does. And it's like, what are they doing differently? And do you know how to do these things? It's like, no, cool. Don't worry about it. I do. And what I can do is I can help you do these things so you can start to experience the same thing. Business is really a science. It's kind of the human side of things. It's like that. It's human nature that's wonky and weird. It's those dynamics. But science is a business. Just like in personal training, that's also a science. It's the people. It's them committing. It's them actually showing up, doing the work, being honest with you. If they are able to kind of lower that guard and just have confidence in you, it's way easier for you to train. Just like it's easier for me to actually work with their business once they have buy-in there. So we actually have to show them, like, you do this. This is actually the quality of life that you're going to experience. And it's up to you to determine, like, is this better than we're experiencing now? It's like, yes. Okay. Cool. So would you say it's worth it? And it's like, yeah. Okay, cool. Well, then you just map out options from that point. So I like to kind of do it that way. And every business is so different. Every person is so different. Every company has its own dynamics you have to overcome that are different. Everything is so different. So it's like probably just like with personal training, like everything is a puzzle piece. Everything is a puzzle. Sorry. Everything is a puzzle. So not every client is going to have the same experience or same journey en route to what they believe a good body is.
It's all different.
It's all different.
From the different goals. Somebody just wants to get up and down off the ground.
Yeah.
That's a very different projection than somebody who wants to squat 500 pounds. Or someone who doesn't really care about squatting very much, but really wants to look shredded for their Thanksgiving, or not Thanksgiving, but for their summer body, you know?
Yeah.
It's definitely a different experience with both the science behind the training, even though the fundamentals are relatively the same. It's the approach and how it's like, maybe the pace is also
pace. Yep. All that stuff.
It's very different between different clients. And I kind of like that. It is a fun puzzle. And then when people don't offer information, one of my clients just told me recently, I tore both of my labrums and my hips like 10-ish years ago. And it's like, we've been working together for a year and some change now, and you've never mentioned that? Mm-hmm. Like that's wild to me. Like we could have, like, there was this nagging pain that we could have solved a long time ago if you told me that by just incorporating some extra isometric training, or like there's
little things.
There's little things around here that we could have added that would have saved us a lot of and saved me in my head. Like, why is this thing like constantly nagging? Like, we've done all these things. Well, probably because there's a lack of stability inside of there. Well, that's that weird. Information's helpful.
Dude, 100%. I think what that is, at least for us in the business sense, is that you want to really make sure that your discovery process is down pat and clean, like your qualification discovery process, and knowing exactly what you're walking into as much as humanly possible. And it's hard to do sometimes, but if you have a really good system as far as like figuring out like what does operations look like, what's personnel look like, what's your leadership look like, what's your finance look like, what's your marketing and sales look like, and actually break everything down, it's going to give you a really good gauge as to like what was tried before that didn't work, why are things not working now, and it's easier to kind of take a deep dive and actually prescribe the right thing because someone is actually honest, but also because we're asking the right things that to us are important, but to them it's just out of sight, out of mind. Like the same thing with you. It's like they could have told you that and that would have changed everything, but they just omitted that, not out of probably being malicious, or just probably out of ignorance. It was just like, oh, I didn't know I should say anything. It's like,
100%.
Yes, bitch, you should have fucking told me. Like that would have been great to know.
Yeah.
That would have changed my entire strategy.
Yeah.
And thanks. Now we know why this has been lingering. So it's the same thing with business. Like, oh, that's fucking good to know. Thanks. That would have, I don't know, saved you 20% on just your straight up revenue. And you're like, oh, I didn't think about that. I was like, fuck. So discovery process.
Sometimes it's just people don't know. I mean, you've asked me questions in the past that I'm like, I don't really know that I have an answer to that. Like, I know that there is an answer, but I don't really know how to verbalize that answer. So you have to take someone that doesn't even know really how to speak to that answer, teach them how to, and then from there grasp everything out of what applies to them.
Yeah.
That's a fucking hard process.
Yeah. Yeah. That's one of the reasons why I love language a lot, is because you have words and phrases, you have a vernacular inside of you that is responsible for your reality. That the way that Ray Dalio thinks or Warren Buffett thinks, it's not just what they're thinking, but it's the words that they're using for the thinking. Like in our household, there's 4 languages that are spoken. So my wife speaks Japanese, Korean, English, and Spanish.
Damn.
Yeah.
Wow.
And for anybody listening, if you speak another language, I'll use Spanish as an example, that there's like this mental switch. Your body language changes, your attitude changes, your hand gestures change, your voice inflection changes, your volume changes. If you're Italian, that definitely happens. If you're Korean, that definitely happens. If you're Japanese, that definitely happens. And so there's this wonderful rewiring that happens because syntax is different. How you place words in certain spots is different. So therefore, everything is different. And what I look at when it comes to like top performers, what words they use in certain situations, what's their kind of critical thinking process, and what they use to describe certain things is what makes them perform well. So if someone is, like if we're talking to somebody and if I'm coaching them for the first time, I really look at what their words and phrases are. Sometimes I'll try to test them to see if they cuss, if they're negative, if they put somebody down, if they cut people off. All those things are indicators to how they're wired. And if we can veer them in a place where their thinking is more success driven, because I guarantee a lot of top performers, they don't do that. They're very different on how they do that. And I think it's their internal communication that's expressed externally that determines their success. Maybe
Difficult, but do you have any examples, any notes, like the way that one person saw a problem, then maybe some sort of a leadership, or it doesn't have to necessarily be in a leadership specific role, but also viewed that same problem, but with different verbiage, or reacted to it with a different language, that allowed the problem to get solved?
Yeah. So where I see it the most is between operators and visionaries in businesses. So if we're looking at some data and you have one person who's a little bit more visionary, they're a little bit more on the offensive side of the ball when it comes to business. They like to go out and close deals and be social and network and build out JVs and affiliates, and they're just more on the offensive side, right? They're out there promoting, marketing, branding, those types of people, right? And an operator, or like a COO type, very kind of data driven. And let's just say there's a problem with their business, like operationally speaking, maybe something that's expressed in a flow chart that's like fucked up. And so now you have one person, the visionary, and one person, the operator. And the operator, and this is where the operator and the visionary, they tend to clash, because like the visionary is like not interested in the data, and the operator is like trying to make it make sense, and it's just not landing. So they're not able to really get on the same sheet of music on like like, hey, this is a problem here. Our marketing's fucked up, or this is what's going on, and they're just not aligning. So the operator, what I would recommend is like, if they get really good at understanding personality styles, what they do is they start substituting certain words so it speaks into your listening. It's more palatable for you. So if someone is like kind of a little bit more of a feeler and they're not so direct, I tend to use like words like preferences. Do you prefer I go to this here, or do you prefer I do this? Versus maybe some other entrepreneurs is like, hey, I'd really like if we locked in on here, and then we'll move over to this one here. And it's just easier for them. So to kind of answer your question, to me, one of the things that's helpful in that is probably looking at personality styles. One of the things that they'll talk about is like what words and phrases to use for different people. If someone's more of a feeler, more of a thinker, if someone's a little bit more actionable, someone's a little bit more direct or indirect, those things help, because at the very least, if you're able to communicate the problem in a way that someone understands you, then they're able to get on the same page as to what the problem is. And I think that's probably one of the biggest issues, is just the communication between those two parties on the same item.
From personal experience so far, it seems that you carry both.
Oh yeah, I get that a lot.
Rather well.
Yeah, I get that a lot.
You describe them too, and I'm like, I don't know. You fit both of those.
Dude, I get that so much, dude. I get that a lot. I was at this, I don't know if you know who Andrew Cordell is. He's like a larger than life character. He's one of the co-founders of the Aspire Tour. Just larger than life. Like he should do stand-up comedy. He is so funny, and he's like off the cuff, great dude. And he is like definitely a maverick type. If you look at Predictive Index, he's more of a outgoing, driven, social, very articulate, funny, charismatic type of person. And one of my mentors is Eddie Wilson. And Eddie Wilson is very charismatic in his own right, but data-driven, direct. He's assertive. He's a very no-nonsense guy, but he does it with a sense of grace. And they're both just so very, very different. This is a perfect example of someone who's a visionary and someone who's an operator. Visionary, someone that's like living 6 to 12 months into the future, and the operator is reverse engineering that vision to today of like, what do we need to do today to make that a reality in that time frame? And I've had other really solid coaches telling me like, you're a really good balance of kind of those two people. And I take that because like I really respect both of them. And Eddie's such an awesome mentor where I try to do that because it's like being able to speak guy and speak woman. Like, I don't think everybody has that.
Definitely
There's a
not.
lot of dudes that just don't pick up on the signals that women give, and they fall flat.
Happens a lot. Yeah.
And vice versa, where like there's some women that just don't speak guy. And if you're able to kind of do both, it's very, very helpful. And I think in business, it only helps the client. It only helps the condition of the client if I'm able to express and articulate problems, solutions, and actions in a way that they can easily understand and move forward on. It doesn't help anybody if I confuse the hell out of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not good for you, not good for them. It's chaotic. It's why did I spend this money? You start questioning things.
Yeah.
What's going on? And then to get back to, I would imagine that snowballs, and it's harder to hear the next several things that person listens to.
Yeah, they're checked out.
Yeah.
They're completely checked out. It's all those things. It's like, what am I? Because if you're confused, like at the end of the day, in being a business coach and working with somebody and consulting with somebody, I'm not there to confuse them. I'm here to bring clarity. That's why I'm here. I need to understand this complex thing, this problem, like whatever bullshit concept that we're trying, like how can I untangle that and lay it out there where it's super simple that if we do A and B, we're going to get this. So that way everybody at the table, whether they're an analytical, they're a driver, if someone is a maverick and predictive index to an operator, strategist, whatever. That's one thing like I feel like I'm such a strong expert on is those personality types. If you're an ENFJ or like ESTP, whatever, what the fuck ever, I get it. But if I'm able to just talk like this is the problem and everybody's like, okay, got it. So I need to do this, this, and this to accomplish that. Got it. And if everyone at that table is clear on that, and we have clear action items and deadlines, things really start to move in a business. And there's no confusion. You eliminate confusion and you're clear on what people need to do towards a desired end state, your business is going to completely skyrocket. Truly.
I want to see that happen in a group setting, because it sounds very one-on-one, but then you bring that into a group, that makes the complexity of that conversation that much more intense.
I think the stakes are higher, and I thrive in that. I love that. And this is where I feel like the power of edification is missing in today's world and business.
Elaborate, please.
So the power of edification. If I said to somebody, I'll use you, Ben. I'll be like, all right, hey, I have a friend, and my friend is saying like, hey, I really want to get in shape. Okay, cool. Let me connect you with a guy named Ben. I'll help you out. Cool. Like, that's it. My friend says, hey, I really need to get into shape. I'm like, oh, okay. Like, why do you want to get into shape? And they tell me whatever reason why. I was like, can I be vulnerable with you for a second? Can I like tell you about somebody? Like, yeah, sure. So, I know of a personal trainer, and he's just not any personal trainer. I got to tell you, this person, he came into my life and completely turned around my fitness. Not just my fitness, but my mindset. I had so many nagging pains. I had so many issues. There's several nights where I was just dreading seeing him, and he made the whole process easy. I got to my goal. My life's been so much better. And I really want to connect you with my personal trainer, Ben. He's absolutely fantastic. He's outstanding. And I got to say, if I bridge that gap, I want you to really understand like how much he's helped me, how much he's impacted my family. And if I bridge that gap, are you going to at least be respectful of him? Because he's someone that I really, really cherish. And if you're not, I'd rather you find some other personal trainer. But if you're with Ben, you want someone like him, I really need to make sure that you're serious about your fitness before I do that. Oh shit, I'd love to. Cool. How do you think that person is going to treat you that time versus the first time?
Infinitely more respectfully, I would imagine.
You think they'd be on time? You think they'd pay more, likely to pay more, all that stuff, right? Through the roof. And I think I kind of circle back around to that question as far as like the group and the stakes are higher. But the power of edification is like really showing true appreciation and gratitude towards somebody else. And really being able to just simply state why someone is so important to you. And the impact that they've made, and why, and who, and the what, and the how. Everybody is wired to make certain decision-making processes. I care more about the how. Others care more about the what. So part of your edification process is to hit every single one of those. So what it does is it creates this kind of well-rounded, bulletproof buy-in as to like, this person sounds amazing. And if you at least get them to feel that, then when they connect with you, it's so much easier. And they're just probably going to be a much better client, simply because I took the time, what that took 20 seconds, to just say how much of an impact he left on me. And for me, I'm almost safeguarding it of like, I don't want to connect with this person if you're going to half-ass it. Like I really get somebody else, but if you're going to be with him, please respect him because I care about him so much.
It makes me feel like I'm listening to you say that.
You're trained. Like, yeah, we had 2 sessions, bro, and I'm like fired up. Yeah.
Damn, dude. Like that makes me feel like that. Like if I'm on the receiving end of that, like I feel the amount of like love or like care, and like it increases the value. I'm going to reach out to this person and be like, hey man, I heard such great things about you. Like, please let me know when we can, like, whenever works for your schedule, let me know when we can meet. Yeah. Like, like that's amazing. Like, you made me feel something just sitting here. It's just crazy.
Yeah. So in a group setting, when you are coaching a group, that power of edification can transfer well there. Where, like, if you're saying to somebody, like, if someone's giving off an idea and you're like, that's such an incredible idea, like, you know what? I really want to circle back to that. It's really, really smart. I really appreciate that. I like to kind of pivot here and then get back to that because that's fantastic. In fact, I want to write that down and then maybe on another meeting really give it the time that it deserves. Or someone says something and you encourage participation and positivity. And I think what that does is it also creates edification with each other because you're showing them how to communicate with each other. And if they're able to talk in a frame of appreciation and positivity, it's a lot easier, and it's less likely that some of these meetings get derailed through emotion or just like bad attitudes. So when I jump on, when I first work with a client, I really edify the owner. Like, guys, I'm so happy and grateful to be here, to be working with you guys. I don't take it lightly. You guys have an amazing business. It's not necessarily a diamond in the rough. You guys are doing a lot of things right. We're just here to put some kerosene and some gasoline on this and just some adrenaline, some steroids, and really launch this thing. So, kudos to Ben, kudos to Ben to really investing into this. I'm fired up. I'm going to be giving you guys 110%. All I ask is that you also give me 110%. So just thank you so much to Ben. Absolutely fantastic. You could have chosen anything anywhere else, but you chosen here, and I want to give you guys everything you deserve. So just thank you for that, and then just go around the circle. And so I edify them where they're like, oh, wow. And they just look over to the owner like, that's really, really cool that I'm just speaking well on them. And then I say, I heard so many really great things about you guys, that you guys are hardworking, that you guys are about the business. Even if the owner didn't really say that just yet, maybe they're frustrated. I don't need to say that. I rather project onto them like each one of you are valued. You guys are amazing. The business is where it's at because of every single one of you. So what I want to do is elevate ourselves, elevate our mind, our strategy, so this thing can even be that much better. And I'm really excited for this team. Ben has said so many amazing things about you. And it's very, very rare to hear an entrepreneur say good things about their team. They're usually bitching, and that's not what I got at all. So I'm fired up for this. Even if this is like halfway true, holy shit, does the meeting feel better? Even the business owner was just like, and there's been times where like, I didn't really say that. And I'm like, you don't need to say that. Are you happy that I said it? They're like, oh my God, yes. They changed their attitudes immediately. It's like, I know, power of edification.
Wow.
Just saying things that make people feel great. And if that means that we're going to have a better collaborative effort in making this fucking business better, which is what you hired me for, if we're going to have a better result, and the probabilities are higher now just because I said that very first go around, fuck yeah, I'm going to say that. Or I can just be like, you know what, this business owner, she keeps bitching about you guys. You guys are always fucking late, and I'm here to crack the whip. It's like, that's not going to help anybody.
It's not.
It's going to make it harder. So do I want to do things and communicate, make my life easier or harder? It's like, well, easier. So speak belief into them. A lot of these entrepreneurs, man, like they have a twice the likelihood of them committing suicide than regular people as are entrepreneurs. It's a lot higher.
It's a lot higher.
The statistics for entrepreneurs are horrible. It sucks. People, it's not easy being an entrepreneur.
I was thinking that on the way here today. As I was driving, I was like, man, does Antonio, because like someday I walk out of the meeting with the CPA and I'm like, man, sometimes I wonder if it'd be easier just to get a fucking job. Like,
yeah,
just don't take the risk. Don't have to have these meetings. Don't do any of this. Don't have to worry about it, and just show up and do my job. Does Antonio ever feel that way?
I do. I've thought of stuff like that, and that's where I have to catch myself, because yeah, man, there's times, but I actually would feel worse in doing that. I think it's soul sucking. I'm not built for that. I think that there's some people that really thrive on having that 9-to-5 structure, and I don't hate on it. I don't disrespect it. I think that there's some people that they're fantastic workers. They are just not wired for entrepreneurship, and that's totally cool. Nothing wrong with that. I also think that there's a percentage of people that are intrapreneurs. And I don't think that gets enough credit. And I think those are really fantastic too. So like the Steve Ballmers of the world, or like the Paul Allens of the world. Like there's a ton of people that I think would do really, really well if they were an entrepreneur.
An entrepreneur is doing entrepreneurial work inside of a company?
For the most part, yeah. That's like the easiest way to describe it. So you can have someone like that runs a really, really, let's just say a really big business, and someone comes in and they get an equity stake of the business. They have like they have a stock option or whatever it is, right? And like they help grow the company. They own a percentage of the company or stocks of the company, but it's like, it's your company. And I'm coming in to build this thing out as if it was my own, but it's not, it's yours. And I'm working in it.
How fun.
Yeah. So it's not like Mark Cuban where he has like multiple businesses and he's the entrepreneur and he's doing all that. It's someone like a Paul Allen type where they're very vested into Microsoft. And they helped build Microsoft and became a billionaire because of that with Microsoft, even though Bill Gates was the guy. He's the entrepreneur. So I think that there's some people that are probably really fantastic at that they can maybe get an equity stake, do this, and their whole job, their whole world, their whole ethos, everything is making sure that business is protected and it's growing.
That's a skill set in itself, for sure.
Yes. They're not taking the risk, I mean, minimally, but like, make no mistake, they are in a critical part in that business's success.
How fun. I definitely thought on the way over here. So I was thinking like, man, I wonder if it would be easier. And then as I started getting closer to the house, I was like, yeah, but I don't think I'd have a good time. Like I've already tried that how many other times and I didn't like it. I hated it and wanted to have like more opportunity and like, no, like we can have, I think there's a moment, and I'm sure like all people have those moments where it's just like, man, I just, not necessarily feeling the thing that I'm on, having a moment of it, and then like taking the time to recognize, why am I feeling like this? Is this reality for me, or am I just reacting to the current potential stress of whatever's going on? Yeah, probably. So let me just just revert, get back to where I'm supposed to be. And remember why I started this, right?
Yeah, dude. I think what I recommend people always do is to take like personality assessment. Some people maybe don't feel very strongly about it, but all it is just like science. It's data that helps you kind of understand you. And sometimes it kind of what you mentioned earlier is like just people not knowing how to articulate the feeling of not belonging. Like for what you're kind of essentially saying is like, I'm in a corporate setting. I don't feel like I belong here. And that is screaming at me. It just doesn't feel right. It's maybe the lack of freedom. It's my stupid boss and they're just breathing down my neck, or it's the mundane. I'm not being challenged. It could be a number of things. And so I do recommend people take a handful of different assessment tools. And I think what that's going to do is at the very least help you understand yourself a little bit better. It's like, you have a dog, right?
Yeah.
What breed is it?
A German Shepherd.
German Shepherd. Beautiful dog.
Beautiful.
Can a German Shepherd mate with a pug? Can they make
that would be German Shepherd wildest fucking thing?
Is it possible?
Is it possible?
Yes.
I'm sure it is. Is it viable? No, probably not.
No, probably not.
Yeah.
Genetically speaking, is it possible?
Yes.
Yes, it's possible.
Yeah.
They're both dogs, right?
Yeah.
Cool. And same species, just different breed.
Yes.
Cool. And with a pug, can a pug do the work of a German Shepherd?
No.
No. Is a German Shepherd wired for the same way as a pug?
Not at all.
No. Are all German Shepherds the same? Do they all have the same personality?
No.
No, they don't. How about with German Shepherds and a Husky?
No.
Different.
Can they mate? Yes, but they're very different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're like that. Human beings are like that.
How fun.
When you look at certain dog breeds, it's like you want this one guarding your gate. You want this one pulling a sled. You want this one to be a pointer dog or a retriever dog or a herding dog, right? You wouldn't switch those up. That's fucking stupid. You're borderline fucking retarded if you're gonna do that shit.
I'm gonna get a Shih Tzu to protect
Yeah,
my
you're
front
gonna
door.
put the German Shepherd to like pull a sled, and then you're gonna get your pug to like be the guard dog, and get like a husky to herd. It's like, it's stupid.
It's dumb
because they're not driven to do those things.
Yeah,
they're driven for different things. So maybe for me, it's like I've been surrounded by Rottweilers my whole life, but maybe what I actually am is maybe a German Shepherd or a Belgian Malinois or something else. Same thing with you. It's like maybe you've been surrounded by like bulldogs, but you're actually a Labrador, and you should be out there swimming and retrieving and hunting and being in the woods and eating duck and just fucking like, that's maybe your lifestyle instead of a bulldog. And I think people are very much the same way, is that like you have certain personality types and very specific drives that people exhibit. There's the protectors of the world. There's people that are very analytical. There's people that are very kind of a grinder type of personality type. Others are very communal. Others are very energetic. And you have these different types, and they should be in different places in a corporate setting. You don't want your tax person or CPA doing sales. You don't want your sales guy doing marketing, and you don't want your marketing guy doing your taxes. It's the same shit, right?
it's a really good analogy. I love it.
So we do this with our dogs. Why don't we do that with ourselves? The dogs are probably the only other species in the animal kingdom that I would say is similar to us in that respect. Maybe chimps, but like it's very clear with dogs. They all breed with each other. They could do all that really easily. I'm just using that as like an example that they're all the same. Just like, you know,
We're all humans. We can all mate.
4'11" Chinese lady and like a 6'5" Norwegian dude. So different looking people. They can breed, but it's just their drives are so different. So, kind of to your point, where it's like someone might be feeling that way. It's like, have you checked what you are? Have you like looked and researched maybe you? Like, have you maybe taken a deep dive into predictive index or like Myers-Briggs, or read a book on this? Or are you a driver? Have you done DISC? It was escaping me, like DISC, anything like that can tell you a little bit more about yourself.
I did the predictive index, and I was a debater, if I remember correctly. I don't remember which.
No, it might be a different one. Debaters, yeah.
Is that not a different?
No.
That's a different test.
It's a different one.
I remember sharing my predictive index with you.
I was the fucking slut, and then I was kidding. I was a disgusting. I was a hoe bag.
Yeah, different test. Oops.
Yeah, different test. Yeah.
So I did. I forgot which one. I'm gonna have to do it again. But
how long did it take? Like a few minutes, just picking words.
There again. I think I did the predictive index with you. And then I think I did another one that was like 100 or so questions long.
Oh, yeah, no. Yeah. Predictive index usually takes like 3 to 7 minutes tops.
Damn.
All it is, you're getting a couple screens, and you just pick which words resonate with you, how you feel others view you, and how like pick the words that you feel others believe you are. It's like, and then pick the words that actually reflect how you feel about yourself. What you believe is true to you. And then it takes those two things and it synthesizes that data. So you have those three, like self-concept, self-action, and another one, and kind of a combination of those two.
How fun.
And that's what spits it out.
I've been asking, I don't know how helpful like anecdotal evidence is. As I'm asking, working with more people, I start asking, how do I come off to this
super
group?
Gay.
Super gay?
Yeah.
Fuck.
Flaming, dude. Yeah. How do you come off? You lost me at come. Yeah.
Super gay.
I don't know.
No wonder they were all being dicks. God. So
meet you in the showers, boy. Yeah.
Everyone was like, man, you're very assertive. Like, you're very direct. You're almost aggressive.
Back to the gay thing, man. It's super.
Is it not good information?
If someone's telling you if you're direct or all that stuff,
yeah,
I think that's a perspective.
Okay.
So to me, you're not.
Okay.
It's like if you were to ask a hardcore 20-year Marine veteran, am I direct? Like, no. Compared to what? To who?
Fair.
Like, get
Wow.
the fuck out of here,
Cool.
right? Like, you're soft compared to them.
Yeah.
But if you ask like a librarian that's like has no HR issues and like to them you could be. So I think it's rather subjective. I've gotten, and I've had to be cool with this, and just in my own life of like, I can be a dick or I can be an asshole, and it's like the people that have told me that, I'm just like, you're fucking soft, dude. Like you're just you couldn't punch yourself out of a wet paper bag. You're not even Charmin Ultra. You're like regular fucking Charmin, dude. You're a fucking marshmallow.
Single ply.
Yeah, it's like, dude, chill out. Like you are like the worst toilet paper. Like the single plywood that's at the corner like 7-Eleven that you just barely get wet and your finger punctures through that. Soft, dude. But yeah, man, when it comes to stuff like that, it's I would take that with a grain of salt.
That's helpful. Because initially I took it fucking I was like, man, I guess I am aggressive. I'm kind of a dick, I guess. And like, all right, well, I guess this is like, I have to make a decision whether I want to own this or if I don't want to own. Like, do I want to make a decision to say, well, I need to learn to be more soft in my delivery? And then I was like, no, but at the same time, like, I can be soft. Like why are these people in particular feeling this way? So it created a lot of confusion inside of my head with like, what, am I like such a dick?
Is this through like personal training or is this through like just generally?
This is the MBA people that I was working with. And I think that I would probably lean on several of them being more soft than not. One of the people is like a Reiki, so he's like wellness coach
fucking
person.
Pussy right there.
And so I was like, maybe I'll take this. Like she does coaching.
Okay, so here's what I'm gonna go on a wild limb and just say that you're probably surrounded by a bunch of pussies. Like,
probably we had a pretty
that's what it is.
Lengthy debate about not saying the word female and only saying the word woman, because if you say female, it takes the humanity out of being a woman.
Says who?
That's what I was like, but it's what do you mean? Like, why are we having this conversation? Like,
This is in your MBA class?
Yeah, this is the MBA class.
Yeah. So let me go out on a limb and just maybe say this doesn't really help business, but like I saw like Deadpool Wolverine recently, and there was this.
Not yet, but yeah.
Oh, okay. So all right. I'll not
give it to me.
it.
It's fine.
No.
People have them, sure.
All he says is just, he says to a character like, read the room. You'll see it when it happens. Right? He just says like, read the room. This is where you just read the room, and this is what I had to do, was read the room. Was like one of the people that said, or the people, it was actually one of them was my sister. She's like, you can be kind of this and this, and I'm like, you're a phlebotomist in Alaska, where all you do is just take people's blood, and you're also working like in an eye clinic, is what my sister does. Nice. No disrespect to that, no whatever, but not exactly a high stress environment. When I talk to other Alaskan friends that are like military or former Marine, they think I'm the marshmallow. And it's like, okay, so read the room, right? Yeah. And if you're in a situation where you're around a bunch of academics that their pain is someone to disagree with them, and now they're a dick, read the room. Yeah.
That's the debate. It was like,
it's just academics. Yeah.
Why are you like, why are you challenging this? Like, why are we having a conversation about, it's like, what the fuck do you mean? Like, why is this rude?
Who makes it rude? Why is this rude? Compared to what? Since when? Who told you? Yeah. What have you heard that makes you believe that? And why is it what you think is true and what I think is wrong? How do I know that what you said and what you learned is bullshit? And how do we know that it's not? And how do you know that what I didn't learn isn't true and yours is wrong? Like, what are we talking about here? Does this actually help businesses grow? Does this actually help with this? Does it really matter? I mean, what I look at is merit. I look at it whether you can do the job or not. I don't care about, like, most entrepreneurs, if not all of them, they hate this whole DEI thing. It's like, are you the best person for the job? I could care less. I just care if you're on time, you do your work that we agreed on. This is your job offer. These are the KPIs that we're going to use to make sure that we're on the same page. So you know you're performing well, and I know that you're performing well. And these are the things that we're going to be using in our system to make sure that we're holding each other accountable, that I'm giving you the tools and resources provided that I need to provide so you could actually do the work, and you're actually out there doing it. And that's all I care about. Anything else, they don't really give a shit. Zero. Vast majority of these business owners. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like, are you black and you could do the job? Great. Are you Chinese and you can do the job? Great.
Are you Chinese and you can't do the job? Well, then I got to find somebody else. It's not because you're Chinese. It's because you can't do the fucking job.
Yeah, you can't do the job. And it's like, oh, it's because it's because you've been brainwashed to feel like you can't take ownership of your own actions. And that's the disservice. Like, that's the evil. Is like, dude, take some goddamn responsibility for your lack, for your skills, and quit making excuses. Just get after it, dude. Like, every client that I have, like, if they have personnel issues, I'm like, fire them. Yes, fire. There's a handful where it's like, this is a coaching thing and this is on you. They're behaving a certain type of way because they're just lost. That this is actually an A player and your business is a B environment, and they're lowering themselves because of what you have. You have no SOPs in place. There's no accountability measures in place. You haven't communicated with them effectively. You haven't trained them on the software. What the fuck are they supposed to do? Like really, you kind of need to help that side out, massage that, and kind of crystallize that infrastructure so they can actually perform. So this is on you to fix things.
That's fun.
And then they, trust me, will rise to the occasion. So we have to be very crystal clear as far as like who's a winner and who's not.
That's really cool. It's a fun, in-depth look with the problems are not so binary. I think is kind of what it highlights for me. It's because I like, if I had a masonry guy, which I did, who absolutely just never like, yeah, I'll be there on Tuesday, and now it's Friday, and it's like, I have to hold your check because you haven't, like, you didn't do the work you haven't finished the work last week, you didn't do the one this week, so I'm not going to pay you. Like, we have to sit down and have this conversation. Like, that's ridiculousness. And so we're going to have to find a new one. I liked the ability to be able to just, I need somebody new for this job, and like just pivot immediately, versus what I thought was reality when walking into a business is like, no, you have to go through all these different steps to like really fire somebody. It's really actually kind of hard.
Imagine that. Imagine if you were stuck with that masonry because that masonry was like, because society told you that it's rude to fire a masonry like that because of what they went through. Because maybe it's a company or it's a masonry guy that's like, let's just say they're Guatemalan, and it's distasteful to fire them because they went through so much or whatever it is. It's
I'm sorry, but there's another Guatemalan down the street who has their shit figured out. So
yeah, but that doesn't mean that you should hurt this one to do that one. You should give them another chance. It's like that type of social control over how you run your business is fucked up when the person that's hiring you to do it doesn't. They just want the end result. I just think it's so wrong on so many levels. And I don't think we should push it. And it's those kind of academics that you were surrounded by that just exacerbate that problem. And I think they need to, I don't know, be challenged far more than what they have been through grit and actually telling them like, you're fucking stupid, dude. Like, it's rude or it's this, like you are like, I want to go on a tangent, but it's like, but it's, I think it's just incorrect on so many levels. The principle there is completely wrong. That like, this world is offensive.
I thought I was walking into this program and it was going to be a bunch of people who were like, I just want to level up my business acumen. I just want to become better.
It's a lot of theoretical.
It's a lot of theoretical, and it's a lot of, it feels like there's a lot of tiptoe, and
which is not business.
That's not business at all.
And I was not like, theoretical. Like, business is like your business doesn't thrive off of theoretical. It thrives off of action. And you could even be making some of the wrong actions. If you're just doing some of the right actions a little bit more than your bad ones, you're going to be profitable. Your margins might be razor thin, but you might be barely getting by, but it's doable. But there's this really great quote, like, I would rather take an inch of action than a mile of intent. And those places are just a mile of intent. bunch of fucking talkers. Dude, there's people that are multi fucking millionaires. They have multiple businesses that barely graduated high school. Straight up.
Yeah, that's my grandfather was that person.
A lot of people are like that, where they put their nose to the grindstone. They get gritty, they get after it. They're singular. They have a burning desire, and they're willing to make mistakes. Truly willing to make mistakes and have a positive attitude after every single mistake. And some are dire and some are tough, but they get after it. And I think that perseverance just always leads to success, which isn't truly kind of what academics are trained to do. You know, it's like you have to get your test at an A or whatever. It's like, dude, not really. I think they're gonna be great employees for somebody that's gonna slap them around, but no, not really.
It doesn't like taking a test. I almost felt weird using my resources, taking an exam or doing homework, because it's like, oh, you should know this stuff, and I was like,
no.
Since when do I ever need to memorize the exact order of a cash flow statement? I will never have to. I will always just be able to go and look at it because it's going to be given to me and like, hey, analyze this. Great. Like that requires some thought and some like critical thinking, but I'm memorizing the order in which it exists almost seems meaningless to me. And I'm going to test it on that. Like that seems wild. That's not reality. That's not normal.
Yeah. I can see maybe like the sequence or the ordering or something. If maybe you're like saving a patient's life in the ER.
Yeah.
Yeah. I get
Makes
that.
sense.
With that, not really.
No.
Because there is no situation, like it's very, very, very rare, but, and I would still say there's no situation. Like even if you're getting a profit and loss statement, or if you're getting a balance sheet or whatever the fuck it is, you could still reference it. You could still like, there's so much data out there on your fingertips just through AI, through social media, that you can reference that actually quite quickly, that it doesn't need to take up capacity in your brain to memorize something that meaningless. Straight up.
100%.
What you should be taught is what story these numbers tell and what questions to think of. Is like, is this kind of what we were doing a little bit earlier? Like, was this a marketing thing? Did they re-up their insurance? Like, what's this? Like, how many members are actually like, what's their monthly recurring revenue? What's their annual recurring revenue? What are these events like? How does this explain this drop or this loss on this month and then this gain the next month? That doesn't make any sense. Like, could it be this? Like, these are actually questions when you're looking at some of the numbers. Like, that's what you should be taught, not the sequence of something that you can literally find within like 15 seconds online.
Agreed. I hope that it changes. I already made a commitment, so I feel like I kind of just like in here, so I might as well like finish it. But it is very eye-opening, and I think almost a little bit validating for me personally. I was like, man, I guess maybe I do know more than I think I do, and I probably always end on like that piece.
I'll go maybe a step further. Is that I think what's more important for entrepreneurs is detecting what's bullshit and what's not. Right, everybody's smart in their own way. Like, oh, I should know. Right? It's like, no. That's great and all, but if you're able to detect what is just a steaming pile of monkey garbage, and like what's what and what's not, I think that's really, really helpful. It's going to help you on your deals. It's going to help you with partnerships. It's going to help you when you're just literally doing your due diligence on a new deal that maybe or a new business you're trying to acquire. And if something just feels off or the numbers are off and you can kind of detect like, I don't know, that I think is a big differentiator between top business people and not, is people that are really good at detecting bullshit and getting into the weeds of it and be like, this is a bad deal for these reasons. That everyone's smart in their own way, for sure. Not to kind of discredit anything like that, but you get really good at that, of what to say no to. That's going to save you a lot of pain, tremendous amount of pain.
It's a good, I think a good way to be a little more aligned with what I'm feeling or what I'm thinking in the program.
Yeah.
So I think that's definitely a better perspective to have.
Yeah. I think business, there's a massive spiritual component. I think statistically speaking, the people that do best in business are married Christian men with kids. I think there's a powerful spiritual component in wealth building. When there's faith backed by desire, and part of that is like a level of intuition that you receive messages or information from places that are not from our five senses. And I think guys like Eddie Wilson and other mentors of mine, that is, I would say, one of their superpowers, is that in kind of the entrepreneurial journey is like kind of what you're mentioning is just like people are running and gunning. They're really trying to develop their business, grow their business. They're making a lot of mistakes. They start running into like imposter syndrome. They start running into negative thinking, poor belief systems that they have to break through in order for their business to reach to another level, because their business is only really a reflection of the executive decisions that the entrepreneur makes. Right? I guarantee you, if you acquire that business and Warren Buffett comes in on your behalf, that business is going to be very different. Well, so why? Well, because he sees things in a certain way and he does things in a certain way. Straight up.
Yeah.
So part of that process, when people are overcoming those belief systems, imposter, everything else, people start moving into personal development. All these entrepreneurs, they start getting into mindset, heart set, spirituality, faith, philanthropy, tithing. They start moving here. And then they take a lot of those skills and those strengths, the intuitive nature and spiritual side of business, and they apply it back into the tactical and practical side of business. And now what's left is like you have these really well-rounded entrepreneurs that are very articulate, they're gritty, they're strong mental toughness, but they're also spiritually grounded, and they have a strong faith. And they're really good at understanding business as a whole. You get that together, like these are usually the creme de la creme type entrepreneurs.
That's a really cool observation.
Spirit is a big one, where they're just like, something is off. I can't put my finger on it. I just, whatever it is, my intuition is telling me back away. And you look this up through like YouTube or wherever. So many entrepreneurs, so many business owners are like, there were some deals where I had a bad feeling about it and I went ahead anyway, and I got fucked over. I got screwed. I got hurt. I got pinned down. I got robbed, whatever. And I knew I shouldn't have done it. And I just did it anyway. And I should have listened to that inner voice. When, again, going back to like ones that just, there's something telling me no, and I need to be aligned with that. On the flip side, I'm sure there's times in your life where something was telling you, this is it. Yes. And it panned out so well. And you couldn't give it rhyme or reason, or it was just something that felt right. That's also a really good thing to kind of tap into.
I think that the thing that I immediately go to was making the commitment, like to go lift professionally, like to go lift for Team USA. Like,
that must have been rad, dude.
It was fucking awesome, and it was just like it's just a thought. Like, it wasn't even like it was like, oh yeah, that's the right thing to do. It wasn't really like a questioning. It was just, no, that's the thing. And then what's really interesting is like everything else just quieted down. Like, nothing else mattered. It was, this is the goal. I'm not necessarily thinking about the goal every single day, but I'm working at the goal every single day, with sleep, with eating, with food, like with training. But it's just, oh, this is just who I am. This is just what I do. And I'm focused on doing this thing. But I don't recall it being like a, I think like how motivational like videos go. It's like every single day I'm in and thinking like in my head over and over. And it's like, I did a lot of visualization, but it was just making the decision and showing up. Like dude, this is it. It's that simple. Just show up.
Dude, that word is so critical. Decision. And like one thing that I talk to entrepreneurs about is like the difference between choosing and making a decision. The etymology of the word decision, like where the root of it, to decide, means like, if you think of like decide, but then if you think about the word like homicide, suicide, infanticide, genocide, pesticide, to decide means that you are murdering the alternative. You are killing all other options to make a decision that I decided to take on this identity and be a professional lifter. That's what that means.
That's really cool.
It's way different. So when you choose, it's like it almost keeps the option open of choosing something different.
Yeah.
When you make a decision, that's that. And I think there's times to really kind of respect that word in kind of a business setting of like, you need to decide to be XYZ or to do XYZ, or we're choosing to take this route. It's the meaning that we place on the words that, it's the meaning that we place on these words that determine the quality of mind that then determines the quality of life. Like straight up. And if we can tie in different meanings to different words, then what's going to happen is you're going to be adopting, I guess, the vernacular or the thinking process of other top performers, because they all speak the same language. That you could just tell when someone sounds like money. When you talk to someone, you're like, this dude is sharp, and you know it. You're like, within 30 seconds, you're like, okay, this person's somebody. You could tell right off the bat, and you could tell maybe who's not. This is not an accent thing or anything like that.
Yeah,
you can have some people that act dumb, but you know that they're really smart. You see a lot of Southern guys that try to pretend that they're dumb, but they could be like a mergers and acquisitions attorney and they're just studs, right? You really, really never know. So there's outside of that, there's little nuances that you can pick up to see if someone is, you know, a really top performer. Little nuances you could pick up on.
I like it.
Yeah.
I'm going to switch gears just a little bit.
Sure.
We good?
Yep.
A question from our listeners, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
What is your lineage of mentorship?
Oh, man. So one lineage is all the way from Andrew Carnegie, actually. So Andrew Carnegie coached, we wouldn't really say he coached, but he kind of did in a lot of ways. Napoleon Hill. He's the one that really challenged him to write the book Think and Grow Rich. Napoleon Hill then created programs with W. Clement Stone. W. Clement Stone was then the mentor of Earl Nightingale. Earl Nightingale mentored Mike Ferry. Mike Ferry is also like one of the top real estate coaches of all time. He's an absolute legend. He coached Tony Smith, who mentored me. The other person of Earl Nightingale was Bob Proctor. Bob Proctor mentored Brian Del Maso, and Brian Del Maso was my personal coach. Shout out to Brian, R.I.P. He passed away a little bit earlier this year. So on that side it's not being mentored through books. It's like from person to person to person to person, all the way down to me. So that's one side. The other one is through Zig Ziglar. Zig Ziglar personally mentored Chris Patterson, who's also one of my coaches now. And then, yeah, man, I would say like those are probably the big ones. And then Eddie Wilson is such a great mentor of mine today. He's someone that has sold over like 86 companies, owned over like 120 of them. He sold over 80 of them for like $1.27 billion actually a few years ago. And he's looking to do that again. Yeah, he's a great coach and a great mentor actually. And he's someone that really taught me what it takes to run businesses at a high level, coach businesses at a high level. He's seen everything, man. Like if you learn like an eighth of what he's done from being like he was also CEO of Tide for a short while. He's the one that got Sean Hannity kind of up and going too. He was kind of ones that created a show and sold it to Fox back in the day.
Wow.
He's done incredible things. He's the one that founded Empire Operating System, one of the things that I'm certified in. And I'm one of the top coaches in the entire world. And I'm like one of 4 other coaches that Eddie Wilson personally picked to take on clients that are from him.
God damn.
Yeah. So like he's kind of seen it all. So he's someone that I really don't take for granted. I really appreciate him. Chris Patterson has been huge for me on mindset. And the other ones is we're also really incredible with Tony Smith and Brian Del Maso and that lineage.
What a wildly stacked lineage you have, sir.
I think it could, I don't think about it all that much. I just know like, I'm just really grateful for people pouring into me. And, I don't take that for granted, man. Like there's some times where like you kind of really need some old heads, some kind of older dudes to really, share wisdom with you. And I think that's kind of needed. And so it's a privilege to kind of share that with other people and talk to other people at the best I can, if I can. I don't always have the answers for everything, and I think I have to figure out like this is something where I can actually give good advice on or go give good information on, and other times where it's like, hey, this is something where I probably recommend maybe looking elsewhere. But yeah, I don't really think about it. I think it comes up in different ways. I think when other people tell you. So I'm really happy for it.
I think I mean, I think it's important to recognize the lineage you have. And I think from an outside perspective, I mean, obviously I know I hear you, you definitely do value it. It's just, it's amazing. And the more you get to learn from all these other older people, I mean, I definitely wouldn't be here today without all the people above me. And I think it's rather fun to learn that I didn't know that you had your own coaches. And I guess practice what you preach is kind of, I guess, what that kind of tells me.
Oh, yeah. Oh, like for me with like having own coaches?
Like your own stuff.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And it's, I don't know, I don't know if it's humbling, but it makes me feel, like you're always, like you're learning too. Like you're on this journey. Like, yeah, like I definitely, I see you and I'm like, man, this guy's like learned a lot. He knows a lot. But I think part of that is because you've continuously invested in yourself. And
yeah, it's that kind of saying like there's information, there's wisdom, and we can get all the information through books and all that stuff. But to actually talk to somebody where they can pick up on your energy, you know, if you know, like Chris Patterson, for example, like I was really going through a tough time a few months back. My sons were waking up all the time. My daughter, but my wife, like I was just, when you're under sleep deprivation for months on end, it starts to really mess with you, and your body really gets into a state of stress. Even off of one night of sleep, you're off. So just imagine having week after week, like multiple days where your sleep is absolutely horrible, like what it does to your body, to your mindset, to your thinking, to your stress, your cortisol levels, everything. And I was really struggling with it. So what book can I read to really help me with that versus maybe talking to another person that also has 3 kids, also been married, also runs multiple businesses, who's 20 years ahead of me, that can say like, I've been through that exact same thing. I recognize it. This is what I would recommend. These are a couple of options, but you need a break. You need to go get a breather. Like you need to do that now. What book will tell me that? How do I self-evaluate instead of having someone else with clear eyes just saying like, bro, I've been there. When I kept pushing through, I had a nervous breakdown. And for them to say like, you're right on that edge, aren't you? It's like, I feel like it. Like, yeah, man, back away. Cancel your appointments, and if you can do it, try to get someone for the kids, and you and Kathleen, my wife Kathleen, why don't you guys take a couple of days off or a few days off and just literally rest, just catch up on sleep, go on a hike, something. So that's what we did. We went to Zion. Nice. We just went to Zion, and it was like it helped out so much just to have like a release valve. So thank God for coaches. Thank God, dude. Thank God for coaches and consultants. That there's so many businesses and so many people that when you're looking at your life or your project or your business through, you're usually like looking at it through a keyhole, and you need somebody to look at these dark spots, these blind spots, and kind of pull your head out and kind of look around. And a lot of damage has been averted. A lot of issues have been avoided simply because someone else was looking. I'm sure you've probably helped people avoid injury just by being there and making adjustments, because they could have fucked up something and it could have been bad, but you were there with your eyes to make an adjustment so they're safe. So thank God for that. The consequences of that, oh my God. How about with someone's business, their livelihood, and they make a mistake? It's very costly. So just thank God for coaches. Thank God for consultants.
Yeah. Thank God for coaches.
Yeah.
And consultants.
Yep.
How do you manage that level? Like, obviously you're aware that this is like, it's a big deal. How do you deal with that stress of like, I mean, your output's insane.
Yeah.
And you took, you talked about one vacation,
Yeah.
one release valve.
Yeah.
So, and I know we talked about this at the very beginning, but like, what are you doing that allows you to have such a high output and handle all the stress of other people's businesses, and then managing your own businesses as well, managing their businesses?
Oh, I would say that there's, when I would say just like you lose yourself in the service of others. Maybe that's the best way to describe it, is that there's other people that are in pain, corporate pain. If they're, I've coached like one-on-one clients too as well, that they're dealing with their own thing that's affecting business and personal life. So I'll coach them. 99% of the time I'm coaching businesses, but they want to feel better. They just want to be better. They want to light a fuel to what they're doing and take that to another level, or they want to really get around this kind of really tough learning curve that maybe they're experiencing in their business. I don't know, man. Like my mother's a nurse. She's been a nurse, and maybe in a way, I look at these businesses the same way that she looks at her patients. Is like, they're not 100%. They're in pain, and if I can be there and help them during this time of vulnerability, and help them mend so that they can be far more productive, then that's a good thing. Because when a business is doing well and they have better margins and it's less stressful, these entrepreneurs are actually quite giving. They're very, very giving. There's so many programs in so many cities that would not have been possible if it wasn't for an entrepreneur who got their shit together and gave back to maybe a little league or to a football team or a volleyball team, or they did charity for domestic violence against women or veterans or homelessness, because an entrepreneur made an investment in themselves to work with someone like me or someone else or an organization or get consulting to kind of fine tune what they're doing on a daily basis, just to compound some successes. And the byproduct of that is just a better community. I feel like entrepreneurs are incredibly giving. There's this whole notion that like business owners and millionaires and billionaires, they're like, no, man, like they give a lot. They give a lot to themselves, and they went through hell and back to get to where they're at. And if I can help them with that, then to me, it's an honor. And if I can help them with that, like it's something that drives me all the time. I do feel like I need to take more of a breather every now and then. But how can I? It's when there's so many people out there that just need help, you know. So I don't know, man. It's an interesting question. Lose yourself in the service of others. If you can help a ton of people, that's a saying that Chris Patterson says all the time, Coach Chris, Zig Ziglar. If you can help enough people get what they want, you can get what you want. And I just want to help them get what they want. They want peace, prosperity, abundance, progress. They want to have fun. Then if I can help you get that, I know I'm going to have that too.
It kind of sounds like you've been through hell and back a little bit. Like you've been there. You've known what that felt like.
Yeah.
And
I used to be homeless. I used to be homeless. Yeah, and most people don't know that. I really don't like, man, I really don't like when people kind of flaunt or virtue signal their pains or past transgressions. I think it's kind of soft. And yet here I am about to talk about it.
It's so gay.
It's so gay. But yeah, man, I've had, yeah, dude, like I was, born and raised in Alaska, a really small town. I remember being called like beaner, not even knowing what that meant. You know, there's a lot of, things happened even when I was younger. I just had no clue. Yeah, man, I was homeless for about a year. And I remember I saw this one podcast like a couple of years ago that was like really resonated with me about like, why did I tolerate that in that point in time? And more or less, it was saying that people use gratitude even in their most dire moments, and it gets to become a mask that helps you almost tolerate your situation when you shouldn't. And I felt like I did that. Even when I was at my lowest of low, I kept almost lying to myself that I'm at least very grateful. So the sting of my situation was lightened.
How interesting.
And I realized like how bad that could be. And I was like very depressive. I was like really, really skinny. I remember I had to scrounge up pennies and nickels and dimes on the street this was Los Angeles in like Ventura County, to even buy like a can of tuna. There were some points where it got really, really bad. I had to beg, I had to borrow, all kinds of shit. And I know what that level of stress feels like, of like not knowing really when you're going to eat. Also knowing that you hurt some people in the process, because when you're in a state of desperation, you just want to survive and you just want to kind of make it to the next day. And so sometimes like you hurt people in that process, and recognizing when someone is in a really kind of desperate state. And it's not that they're bad. It's just like they're desperate. They're tired. They're hungry. They're stressed. They're sleep deprived, whatever. So I've definitely been there on that front. And I know how it feels like to be stuck. I know how it feels like to be lost. I know what it feels like to be in a new environment. I know what it feels like to not understand people. My first language was Spanish. First couple of years in school, I had a really hard time like connecting and talking with kids. I didn't know what they were saying. It happens a lot. My dad didn't really speak English at all. It was just my mom. So most of my communication there's a lot of things I didn't know. I remember this girl said propaganda in school. I had no clue what that meant. So many words I didn't know. Just because of that. And so what I hated was feeling ignorant. And ignorant to me is just not knowing. When someone's ignorant, like they're not stupid, they're not malicious, they're not dumb. They just don't know. People are very ignorant in the gym. Like they just don't know what they're doing. But that's okay. And so I know how it feels to just feel like dumb, stupid. And it's not because you are dumb or stupid. It's just because you've just been in an environment where you haven't been exposed to certain things, and you haven't internalized those things and leveraged those things to your advantage. There's just concepts that you don't know. You're not stupid. You just don't know. So I when I look at business owners, when they're just trying to do something right, they're trying to open up a restaurant, they're trying to do well with their construction company, they're trying to do well in their community. They just, some things they just don't know, and it's causing them a lot of stress. And I get that down to a T. And so for me to take more vacations and they're still struggling, I take that personal. I can't really do that. You know, I'd rather stick around and help. And so that's like probably one of my challenges, is that I need to pull back and take more time for myself when really I don't do enough of that. I really don't. And I should. So
give yourself some love is probably pretty important.
Yeah, just like maybe taking a breather, because I'm always thinking about because there's a fun side of this too. It's I'm not trying to describe it where it's like doom and gloom, but it's actually really, really cool when you see a client, like when they click, or when we work through like a sales process and it's getting into a good rhythm where like I'm closing what would have been an hour call now down to 30 minutes, and my average ticket value has increased by 50%. So you mean to tell me that you cut it by 50% and you increased your volume by 50%. Like, you know how fired up they are over shit like that?
That's a huge win.
Yeah, it's a huge win.
Yeah.
So it's like it's a ton of little things that they're fired up. And it's almost like they're your like little brothers, or they're like your siblings, and they just like something clicked for them and they just get fired up. And there's so much really great success that's happened because of that, from people like doubling their business, or people on pace to 10x their business, or people like really reduce down their monthly like expenditures by like 50%. Like just people finding money in other places, or like hiring a little bit better, or just having better culture, whatever the case is. And seeing them like activate that and be like fired up, that's really cool to see. That's extremely fulfilling. It's a lot of fun.
It sounds fun. Like for you.
Yeah. I'm
Like
sure
for them it's great.
Yeah.
And for you it's great. Like
I'm sure when you coach somebody and they're like, I ran my first like 3 miles, and you're like, oh my God, or like, you know, I finally fit in these jeans, and they're, oh my God, I've been fitting these jeans since the 80s. And you're like, yeah.
It's so gratifying.
It fills you up. And the next thing is like, let's take a vacation. It's like, now I want to feel that again. It's almost addicting.
It is.
So like losing yourself in the service of others. So I do, man. I do need to get a lot better in breaking time off. And when I do that, it is very helpful. I don't feel like I need like 2 months off type thing.
That's a long time.
Yeah, bro. Yeah.
I do wonder, like, well, what else am I gonna do? Like, I don't know. I work every day, and so I mean and sometimes I don't know that that's a good thing all the time. But even if it's just a check-in, if it's a thought, if it's a like, I mean, something's gotta. Otherwise, I mean, I can sit there for a couple hours and like veg out, and like something that's all I think I really need.
Yeah. I think that's a really great point. So you're saying like your recharge period is really quick.
Yeah.
Like some people, they have a battery that takes forever for them to refill that battery. And yours is like a Tesla mega charger. You just plug it in, whoop, just shoots right out.
Just watch one episode of 60 Day Hustle and I'm good to go, you know?
Yeah, dude. That was an awesome show to be a part of. Yeah.
We're going to get more into that here in a little bit.
Okay. Yeah.
But like, is that something you can train with clients?
Yes and no. For you, I keep using kind of you with like personal training. Genetically speaking, there's only so much you can do to help somebody recover. They just have their own process. Some do quickly, some don't, some metabolize differently than others. That's that. Right? Cool. So there's not much I could do there. Same way. How someone recharges, like I'm not trying to, the way someone recharges is going to be different from person to person. However, same with you is like how someone recovers, you might give them different strategies that just feel good to them. So I would want to provide strategies or modules or different approaches to get revitalized or re-energized. If someone's an introvert or an ambivert or an extrovert, that really makes a difference. The way that my wife recharges, she's like an extrovert type of person, is not the way that I do it. So I can provide certain strategies for them that they can get the most out of it, but they're going to have their own pace. They're going to have their own stuff. So I try to align how they already are with strategies that are in line for how they already are. Sorry, that's the best way to say it.
Yeah. So I guess it wasn't a much nicer transition, but I guess we're beforehand. But now we're gonna make that a different transition back into 60 Day Hustle. What was that project like?
It's cool, man. So that project came about by just networking and being in the right rooms, and really making sure that you connect with people, that people trust you and you trust them, and just have a really good rapport. It's amazing what projects come out of just literally people networking and connecting with each other. Really good quality people. Rudy Marr, I went to a couple of his masterminds. So I was part of his marketing mastermind. I went out to North Carolina. I met him. His whole team is absolutely fantastic. And what ended up happening was I connected with him and his team. And I knew that their team was looking at kind of the next step for growing the business. At the same time, I acquired a different client, which is a media studio out in Los Angeles. And I met the owner also through a very different mastermind. We sat next to each other on a bus as we were going to, going over where the Red Sox play, I think Wrigley.
That sounds right.
Yeah, that sounds right. I'm blanking right now, but it should be that. So don't kill me. but we were on a bus and we were getting shipped off with all these other entrepreneurs from this mastermind. And what ended up happening was like we just actually hit it off. I did distribution when I was in Los Angeles too as well. Worked in the film industry, and he was coming from an agency, so like doing like marketing and working with film companies and DreamWorks and so on and so forth. So we just had this common language. What was interesting is that he's not like a realtor. He's not like a real estate person. He is a very, very sharp, creative mind. Really, really good at that stuff. So long story short, it felt like no one really kind of talked to him on that level. And I was the first one that sat down and actually spoke the language of the film industry, TV. And he was like, "Oh my God." So we just become best friends? We're like, "Yep." So we chatted, we talked, I helped him with a couple of projects. And then I connected their team and Rudy's team together. And what came out of that was 60 Day Hustle about a little bit over a year later. And so that project was something that Chris Heyman and Michelle Delamore, who's also one of the founders of Sonic Gods, is like, it's really cool with companies like that they have their ear to the ground to pop culture. They have their ear to the ground of what's working with TV shows and what's not working. And they can create things on the dime, integrate brands, do all some really cool shit. Super duper fast at really, really high, at a super high quality rate. So when you watch the show, it's like, it looks seasoned, it's polished, it's well put together.
A year is fucking insane.
Yeah, and to do that from literally start to finish, and it could have probably also have been done quicker. It could also have been done quicker. So it's really cool because it checks off a lot of boxes. Like it really positions the intellectual property as like a new Shark Tank, a new Apprentice, sprinkling in a little bit of Survivor in there. And you're sitting there and it's essentially a masterclass on business, marketing, sales, phasing, pitching, whatever. And I like that because it's an extension of what I do anyway. It's an extension of what I feel like is important for America, for free enterprise, for the world, of like, if you're going to do this and help people, make sure you do it right, because you could have an amazing product, you can have an amazing service that's just maybe falling flat because we don't know these things. So it's really awesome that Sonic Gods Media and Rudy Maher came together to create a project like that that's already impacted so many people. It does great work. And there's more to come on that front. I do know that there should be more down the road and more projects too. So all of that just came by actually talking to the person next to you and talking to the right people and making sure that you are asking what they're looking for, what's next, how can I help? Maybe there's some relationships in my world that you're not aware of that could be dream ones for you. Tell me kind of more or less what would you prefer? What would you love? And if I can make it happen, I'd love to. And it just perks people up a little bit different. And there's a lot of really cool projects that happen just because of something like that. And this one I'm really, really proud of. And there's more to come.
You said several things in there that prompted thoughts, and then now I lost all those thoughts, and so I apologize. I think, damn it, I'm frustrated.
What's your third favorite color?
Oh shit! Yeah. What a hard question.
Yeah.
Red.
Yeah,
probably.
Is it jalapenos on these on this pizza? What do you think?
Damn it. So what is to come with the next project, and what other projects are coming out of it? This one existence. I think my struggle is that the project itself is like a beautiful like creation, a work of art, but then behind the scenes of what makes that happen is also like, it's also beautiful. Like you get like just talking with people and like, so like it's almost like the 60-day hustle is almost like a representation of like how it came into existence, if that's fair to say. Like all these different relationships that like had to exist, different masterminds. There was so much work that went behind it. It's like breaking the fourth wall almost. Is that fair to say? Does that make sense?
It's definitely a perspective. I think that there's a lot of people that had to be ready to go for the show. And then I would say the other half is actually selling the story, telling people why this is important and why this is next. A lot of brands got involved with the project, from Teachable to Squarespace, a lot of really great brands. And brands are very smart organizations. They're really smart entities. They're not dumb. So it's about creating a narrative and creating a story as to why we should partner for this particular project. And that's a very creative process to create kind of a sales presentation or an outline on how we can be collaborative with one another. Because trust me, brands want to do this. They want to get behind awesome projects. They are, I'm telling you, CMOs, chief marketing officers, they're on their hands and knees praying every single night, like, please, can I get a phone call tomorrow that's life-saving? The CMO lifespan is very little. It's like, I think 18 months.
Damn.
It is like musical chairs in the world of marketing.
Damn.
Everybody's getting recycled. It's worse than banking. It's bad.
Wow.
And it's like, if something well happens, if something good happens, a good strategy happens, they're the king. And someone messes up in one place, they're fired, and it's ostracized. It can get bad. Imagine the marketing team that did Bud Light when they worked with that transgender model, and they lost billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars
off of one
thing, right? And so it's like you're praised if it goes right, and then you're shunned and demonized if it goes wrong. So it's like musical chairs in that world. But one thing that works well is to have a really good intellectual property that's engaging. And what Sonic Gods is doing is providing a really good vessel for that, really good options for that. That is not only tried and true, but there's data behind it. So yeah, one side of it is like people ready to go, like, hey, this is awesome, I get it. And other people where they need to be pitched. And I think the part that might fall flat with a lot of folks in this data-driven world is the actual story. Everything needs to make sense. Everything needs to have some kind of backup of a backup of a backup, or a pre-existing IP. That's why nowadays, if you look at like what's coming out this year, Crow is a remake. Let's just look at the world of movies.
Despicable 4.
There was Dune Part 2.
Dune.
Deadpool Wolverine.
Deadpool.
Yep. There's a few other properties that are coming out where all they are is just remakes and sequels or prequels.
Yeah.
Everything. There's no
Twister.
Twisters. Yeah. Right. There's no original content. Very little original content.
60-day hustle is original.
It's new. It's not a carry on of anything else.
Yeah.
It was a completely new concept, and everything else is also new concepts. We're not taking from anything else. It's completely new concepts, and which is great on a couple fronts because it gives audiences something fresh. Everything is fresh. And so I like that. I like that kind of component to things. And I think none of it would have happened if people weren't really good at pitching the idea. Straight up. Pitching the story. Why is this important? Who is involved? How is it going to make money? How is it going to be a phenomenon? What do we need to do next? Basic shit. Where do I sign? Right.
Who was in charge of that?
Who's in charge of that? So a lot of it is the Sonic Gods team. Yeah.
So
is that what you meant? Yeah.
Yeah. What is Sonic Gods doing that makes them so vastly different?
Without giving like too much details on how the sausage is made.
Yeah.
I would say connecting the dots in different ways to create a more efficient model that benefits all parties. That includes the studio, the brands, and the viewer. So figuring out that the next phase of entertainment is going to be far more immersive or interactive. And I think that's kind of the thing that they're looking at the most is like, how can we be more engaged and interactive and create communities for these shows or for these IPs than maybe what other people are doing. So cool. I think the studio and the brands are in alignment of how they work with each other, and what they determine success are the same thing. I don't think that's the case for Hulu or Netflix or Amazon Prime. Their models are very different.
How fun.
Mm-hmm.
Where can you find it?
60 Day Hustle is on Amazon Prime. Yeah, it's on Amazon Prime. Watch it there. It's a lot of fun. And all episodes are out, so you can watch it from beginning to end, binge it. The person or the grand prize at the end is $100,000. And you have some heavy hitters that are coming onto the show, all the way from Chris Do, Peter Pham, Dr. Bill Dorfman, legends in the space, Clinton Sparks. So yeah, you have some really, really awesome people in that show. And the shows that are coming down the pipe are also going to be absolutely stunning, absolutely amazing.
Are they going to be like, can we maybe anticipate a second season, or are they
you
different
can anticipate
shows?
A second season, yeah. You
and
can
then,
anticipate that, yeah.
Yeah. And then are like, we're also looking at different shows entirely coming out.
Different shows entirely. There's a
Very
lot
cool.
of, yeah. Some are going to be like in the sports space, music. Yeah, there's a few different ones that are coming out.
Good for y'all, man. That's awesome.
Thanks.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And what else you got going on? Where can people find you? Anything new? Yeah, plug, promote, all the stuff you got.
Yeah. So for me, I'm an Empire certified coach. So working with different businesses, I think that's awesome. I'm also a co-founder of Best Practice Strategies, LLC. So this is hyper specific to providers, to medical professionals. I guess this is a bit of a swan song and kind of respect for my mom, that there's a lot of doctors out there that are brilliant doctors that I think need a little bit of guidance to skyrocket and grow their business. And so I partnered up with Dr. Dan Asani to make that a reality. We're going to be going out to New Jersey, launching all kinds of stuff. That's really, really exciting. There's a mastermind that's going to be launching later on this year. That's going to be with Coach Chris Patterson. He coaches like the Jacksonville Jaguars, Michael Chandler. He's worked with Dominic Cruz, really great friends with Grant Cardone and Ed Milet. So he's going to be one of the founders. Jeremiah Sullivan is also one of the founders. He is an absolute unit. He was a Army Ranger. He was a commander with them, just absolute stud of a person. Very focused, very, very disciplined. He's like our Jocko Willink.
Very nice.
Amber Ibarra is also one of the founders. She was a finalist for 10X Talks. 10X Talks. She's also done TEDx, TED Talks. Sorry, there you go. TED Talks, 10X. Yeah. So she's an amazing, amazing speaker. She's done all kinds of different masterminds, emceed a lot of them, being a part of them, working with Jen Gottlieb. She's an absolute, she's not only a unit, but she's a very sophisticated person. So we're all collaborating together to create the Live Large Mastermind, which is such a powerful mastermind. Everyone goes to different masterminds, and I don't care if it's in real estate, if it's in marketing, if you're doing a mastermind that's focused on branding, on funding, whatever it is. A lot of them are running into the same problems, that they are, even though they're part of a community, they don't feel like they're part of a community. And I think a big component of that is because they're getting talked at all day long. They're getting tactical and practical advice, but they're not actually being spoken to, or they're not really in environments where they are learning about spirit, about mindset. So even though they're getting all of this really great information, they're not really applying it. So our mastermind is going to be solving that problem. We're going to be having high-level communication. We're going to have like world-class speakers come through, immersive experiences, that this is the ultimate bolt-on to any other mastermind out there. If you want to get into a mastermind in real estate and learn that, great. You still need ours to make sure that everything you're learning in that mastermind actually becomes a reality. We're going to hold you accountable, make sure that you're curious, that you're adaptable, you have a sense of community. That's what this mastermind is for. So really fired up for that. And so I do a little bit of traveling with Eddie Wilson and the Empire crew, where they were in New York recently. I was in Miami. Phoenix is next, Houston. So it's thousands of entrepreneurs that are coming through, and they need help with scaling their businesses, and I'll come in and do that every now and then.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So you can find me at antoniogarcia.io. Send me a message through there, and our team will take care of it.
And I have to ask, it looks like you're becoming more active on social media. One of your posts, like a couple of weeks ago, probably was man, I really haven't been posting nearly as much as I think I should.
Yeah.
And so you're starting to pick up more on the Instagrams or on the reels and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. How has that been? How have you been going so far with creating your own content?
So my world is interesting where like everything that I ever have is like I've been constantly behind the scenes, painfully behind the scenes, that everything that I've had was been word of mouth. It's like, this person, it's been word of mouth constantly. So I haven't really needed to. And I'm getting to a certain point where that has to be next. I have to do that. So that show just came out. I'm doing a show with Chris Voss, one of my heroes. I love that guy.
No way.
So in a couple of weeks, he's coming out with a show, and I was selected to be one of like a business expert to come on where he interviews me on how empathy is important in business scaling and business growth.
Oh, wild.
Yeah. It's a show called That's Right. It's going to be coming out. I forgot on which streamer, or they haven't disclosed it yet. One of those two. So I have to kind of pick that up. And I've been pushed that like, this is what's next. From a creative standpoint, I feel like I can create a bunch of different ideas. From a time standpoint, I haven't like always taken the time. But it's kind of one of those things, like I decided like I need to do it. Collective Influence and their whole team has been very, very helpful in kind of helping me like find out what direction I should go, what I should talk about, how frequently I should do it, and just kind of trust the process and just continue to put out quality content. And I don't mind it. I guess I don't like. There's a lot of parts of it where I'm like not super. I don't really care. But what's been cool is that I've just been getting really good feedback. Just that like that's really interesting. You said that, and I've noticed other people that have bigger followings that follow me, that copy my shit.
Nice.
I'm like, you fucker. Like I'll say something about something, and like I see that they watched it, and then like a couple hours later, they talk about the thing I talked about. I was like, you fucking guy. But everybody copies each other, so I'm like, all right, whatever. But it tells me that maybe the topic wasn't all that bad. It was a good topic.
Yeah, it was good content. I mean, be undeniable is what I've heard, and obviously if people are copying your stuff, it's you sir are
wasn't a whole. I haven't popped out a whole lot, but I do say that, but it's not all that bad. It's like just once you make the decision to do it, just do it. Just be consistent.
Yeah. Last question, also another question from viewers that I kind of forgot about, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
How are you able to manage so much output with such little time? Right. It's been we're a month 8, going to month 9. You've done so much over the last 9 months. How can you do so much when people are like, man, it's taken me 3 years to run one business, and now you're here doing so ungodly amounts of work in such short amount of times?
Gosh, that's really relative. It's like it's kind of subjective too, because I think how much of a wimp I am. Actually, like let's kind of take maybe a couple people and put it in context. And I know that comparison is a thief of joy and all that stuff, but sometimes you actually kind of need that. And I think it's okay to do. And I think if someone's like, oh, don't compare yourself, like, nah, man, you should do that.
Yeah,
you should have
some frames of references.
Yeah, something. Yeah. And here we have, I'll use a couple people just off the top of my head. Elon Musk is running what? He's running Twitter, Tesla, SpaceX, boring company. He's doing podcasts. How many kids does he have now? 6, 10, 11. He's up there.
Yeah, and
how old is he? Right? Like, and here I am. Like, I have no room to complain. The other person is probably Trump. How old is this guy? He is like being shot at. This dude is being shot at. And here he is campaigning all over, sleepless nights, going from one place to another, looking over his shoulder, doing the best he can. And here I am, like worried about myself. Like it's like thinking about my output. There's some people that are really kind of out there and pushing it. So like when I look at that compared to what even my own dad, like I mentioned earlier, like I lived up in Alaska. My dad was a dock foreman. And when he first got into the fishing industry in Alaska, he worked in just the canneries where they would bring in like tons, and I can't even tell you how much fish comes through these docks in Kodiak, Alaska. It's tons upon tons, thousands, tens of thousands of tons of fish, different types of fish. And they have to fillet that fish one by one in ice cold water, standing up for like, my dad did it like 12 hours a day in ice cold weather, and just gutting salmon over and over and over and over and over again. And here I am thinking I'm tired. Here I am thinking like I need a break. Here I am thinking, I need a breather. When like my own dad went through like 10 times, what I did. Like both my parents have like tremendous work ethic. Both my grandfathers, one of them was a farmer. That's not easy work. And my other one was a blacksmith. That's not easy work. So you have guys like Musk and Trump that are after it. You have people that I've seen like my own father, my grandparents, my grandfather, where it's like, I have no room to complain. I have no room. Like, what am I staring at a computer? What am I like typing? What am I talking? Networking? That's a breeze. It's a luxury. It's an honor to do that. It's a privilege to do that. Like, you want hard work? I'll drop your ass off in a cannery in Alaska. See how long you fucking last in that. No. So that's one thing I really do is kind of give myself a little bit of context of like, how hard is my life really? And so I know other entrepreneurs, like they're kind of going through the ringer. And if I can help them find a little bit of peace, find some strategies that make their lives a little bit better, I'm all for that. So I try not to, that's what I think of, is people like Trump, people like Musk, people like my dad, my mentors too as well, my grandfathers, like they would laugh at me compared to others. Yeah, maybe I'm further, maybe I have a bigger output, but compared to those greats, yeah, no. So I think that is humbling, and I'd rather come from a place of humility of like, I can still push it. I can do more. And I rather have that. And I rather model that to my children than the other. I rather be able to show them how hard dad can work, and then how hard dad can also relax. So I need to show an example of kind of one extreme and the other too, just so there's a spectrum for them to appreciate.
I love it. One more time. Website, Instagram, 60 Day Hustle, but those two things.
Yeah. 60 Day Hustle you can catch on Amazon Prime. All episodes are out. It's an absolute blast. I would recommend having a notepad and a pen because there's a lot of really good information there. Where you can find me is AntonioGarcia.io. You've sent us a message there. Our team will take care of everything. And then my Instagram handle is only Antonio Garcia. You'll find me there.
Beautiful. Thank you, sir.
Awesome, man.
Thank y'all. Love you. Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Ben Nevares podcast. Check us out on iTunes, Spotify, and all other major podcast hosting platforms. Be sure to leave us a 5-star review on iTunes.